Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of U.S. History Made Plain. I'm a high school history teacher trying to make history as fun and interesting for my students as possible. So Henry Clay's Compromise of 1850 did eventually get accepted, but it wasn't a quick and easy thing. It wasn't something like, oh, these are my ideas and everybody's just like on board. So there were three political giants at this time. Henry Clay was one, Daniel Webster was another, and John C. Calhoun was the other one. Remember, President Zachary Taylor wasn't really a politician. So yes, he won the presidency, but he was a war hero, not a politician. So Daniel Webster was in favor of the compromise, and he gave a great speech about how having this compromise would help prevent the Union from going into a civil war. And so he felt like if that's what it's going to take to keep the Union together, to stop the South from seceding, then go for it. John C. Calhoun gave a great speech against the compromise because he felt like by allowing all of California to come in as a free state and then giving Utah and New Mexico popular sovereignty, that was just going to hurt the South. So he was one who was in favor of extending the 3630 line across the Missouri Compromise, but he did not feel like that big old state of California should all come in as free. Half of it should be slave and half of it should be free, according to John C. Calhoun. So both of these men gave two great speeches, which ended up being the last speeches of their life because both of them died in 1850. Sadly, Henry Clay also gave his last speech about the compromise as he laid it out because he ended up dying 2 years later, and I guess he was sick. And so these three men gave three big speeches in 1850, and then that was the end of them. Now, President Taylor did not agree with the compromise of 1850. He did want to allow California to come in as a free state, but he didn't like the other things that came with that compromise. And so he was like, nah, we're not doing it. And then he died in 1850 as well. And so his vice president, Millard Fillmore, came in and he was all for the compromise. Stephen Douglas was a senator from Illinois, and he made sure to break the compromise up into small pieces and to get different parts of government in favor of those pieces. And so he was able to pass the compromise piece by piece by getting everyone to agree to each thing separately. And then Fillmore, who was all for the compromise, signed the bill into law. So the size of California was significant because this compromise of 1850 gave the North the political advantage. It gave them political power. And so they were now in a position that they'd never been in before, where the balance was thrown off and they definitely had the upper hand. However, everybody in the North didn't really agree. Yes, the compromise was passed, but a lot of people had a real problem with the fugitive slave law and with the popular sovereignty in Utah and New Mexico. So the compromise of 1850 did keep things quiet for about 4 years, where there wasn't too much, political tension, political turmoil, but things definitely heated right back up when the Kansas-Nebraska Act was passed, which we'll talk about that in the next episode.